Live. Alright. Greetings, my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video. Literally, I'm doing a live stream here. Uh, emergency! Emergency! Yu-Gi-Oh cards in danger! Step back. Yu-Gi-Oh cards and rednecks first. Okay, save the cards. No one talking yet. Let me know if this is too much light. Okay, I think the notifications just went out. Okay, that's. Use this to block the light. No, not light. Yes, light. Do 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 do. Save that for later. Do 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 do. Is anyone watching? Do do do. Every time I do a live stream, it's like 10 minutes before anyone actually watches, and then I just look like I'm sitting here. Let me just sit like I'm in deep thought. If any of you are watching, put something in the chat, okay? Something for me to talk about. Just got a text. Well, it looks like Wikipedia is going to be tuning in. Something in the chat so I know you're there. All of you who don't know Geekopedia, my best friend, he does a YouTube channel as well. Bye, man. Sorry I'm late. I think you meant, hey, man. Sorry I'm late. I think you can get to his channel by clicking the... Wait, why is the whole thing a Lego Scarecrow? I thought it was Sonic. It's like Facebook, but one way. I thought you did the whole like Sonic thing. Why is your thing Lego Scarecrow? Oh, you've changed it to Scarecrow. I don't think you can really do a lot of that shit because then people are going to get confused on like why you changed the title or a background character. That's why I haven't switched back to like Backwoods Samurai or anything like that. Oh, you did Lego because it was the only thing that fit in the icon. That's all I'm saying. We're going to do something right here with Outlaw Wiccan if she answers. Though she's probably.
Yes.
I'm doing a live stream. Watch it.
Love you.
All right, bye. It's called. Oh wait, I forgot to tell her something.
Yes, I do.
I forgot to tell you. Write something in the chat so I know you're there. BJ's already there.
Are you on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube?
YouTube, obviously. I don't do twitchy stuff.
All right. I'll check it out.
Yeah, BJ said hi, Outlaw Wiccan. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
So we should have Outlaw Wiccan joining us soon. Pretty poor live stream, really. I mean, Samurai Bird just did a live stream, so everyone's pretty. Seriously, dude, we need to figure out how to Twitch stream so we can watch and review movies. That we might have to ask my aunt about. I mean, Outlaw Wiccan would know. Or if you prefer, all y'all out there call her Silver. Seven minutes in, and we only have one view. Or one viewer, and it's Geekopedia. Yeah, I think she is on Twitch. She gave me her gaming info, and then I lost it because I was tired that day, and it just kind of fell into the disarray of my room. Like, you think my room is clean, but no, it's not. It is not clean. I mean, my room is basically, not only am I your best friend, but I'm also your biggest fan. Well, just gonna stretch out a bit. Okay, can't get up. I was hoping some of the sword community would join in. Oh, speaking of which, I almost made my video blasphemous without a sword nearby. There we go. Watch, as soon as I bring out the sword, everyone starts watching. Why does no one watch me? Yeah. Now it feels real. I mean, I really need to start doing like this shit on a scheduled time. Like every freaking like such and so day I'm doing a live stream. Or maybe I want to try something. Look. Sword talk. There's an actual delay between this and this. Like, it shows up that I'm doing a live stream, and I titled it the same as Samurai Bird. I guess I should have titled it differently because I wasn't paying attention to what he titled his live stream as. Just a suggestion, but you could try posting announcements as YouTube shorts. They get a lot of views because they always appear on the stream page. I mean, yeah, my shorts get a shit ton of views. I mean, my Assassin's Creed Done Lazy has like 4,000. But I got this community thing on mine, I guess because I have 121 subscribers. I'm live right now. Please tune in if you have the time. Okay. Now, how long that will. But yeah, but the thing is, I have to make the short and everything. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know I'm not good at making short videos. Okay, short videos and me just don't get along. Of course, I tend to bitch and rant on things. Yellow Outlaw Wiccan? Hello?
I can't find your YouTube channel. What is it?
Outlaw Samurai 47.
All right. Love you.
All right, bye. She can't. She says she watches me, but apparently she's not subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. So far, this is just turning into one of our. So far, this is just turning into one of our many calls, BJ. I mean, Geekopedia. Like, I feel like we should be working on TB like Thunder Brothers right now. Yeah, but this way you don't have to exert yourself like we normally do. Arlenia Shepherd Tison. Who the hell is Arlenia Shepherd Titoni? Or Sisoni? Wait a minute. No, still not. Is that you, Outlaw Wiccan? I'm 12 minutes 42. Arlenia, the Y is silent and it's your aunt. Well, how am I supposed to know? It's like Ariana or some shit. Well, we're like 13 minutes in. Is this how you feel? Like, how come your live streams get like 30, 40 people commenting all at once? And I'm lucky if BJ has time and you have time to watch. Of course, everyone in the community just pretty much, I don't know. Oh, I don't. Then why are you always talking to people when you're live streaming? Oop, drop my Sharpie. I got an idea. Who wants to see me shotgun this tea? Come on, doesn't anyone want to see me do something stupid? Wikipedia? Anna? Yeah, I kind of do. Okay. Your wish shall be granted. Just remember, if I drown and die, it's your fault, Wikipedia. I usually get 2 or 3 most of the time, and I'm talking to the game. Like I said, if I drown and die, this is your fault, Wikipedia. Why won't it work? Okay, got it. This is taking longer than I thought it would. It didn't work. I said, stop. Okay, love you. I have to go and get food. Please don't die. Please don't die. Hey, who else is tuning in? You just saw me horribly shotgunning a bottle of tea. You said I got 4 people watching. Put something in the comments so I know who you are. And no, dude, I'm not going to die. My jaw would probably get sore, but I'm not dying. Oh, it says I got 3 people watching now. Anyone know if Samurai Bird is watching? Because if he is, I got something I want to show him. I know it ain't exactly traditional Japanese or anything, but I was thinking about doing something for the noble bands of outlaws. Just please don't haunt me. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night with your see-through face. It's like, Wikipedia. Why are you stupid? That's the thing. Like, if you. That's what I was fucking looking for. I wonder. I failed. I was trying to do the whole, like, sticks in the wall thing. I failed. Yeah, if anyone remembers this, it's from the video of the poor man's Naginata, which was a DIY thing I did. I know, cool as light. This is just turning into a boring live stream. What did you say, Geekopedia? Oh, Roronoa Zoro versus Roronoa. Oh, you gave me some good material. Okay, so Roronoa Kenshin versus Roronoa Zoro. First of all, they are not both Roronoa. Roronoa Zoro is his name. You're thinking Ronoi Kenshin. And first of all, Kenshin's a Ronin, which means a samurai without a master. But when it comes down to who would win in a fight, there are two criteria to the fight we need to examine. First, if they have fuller range of their abilities, or if we are following the logic of Kenshin's world, or we're following the logic of One Piece. If we're following the logic of One Piece, Zoro will win hands down. Although if that actually can be divided into two separate things. So first we'll go with the simpler means of discussion, which would be Kenshin's universe and the laws and physics that apply there. Kenshin's universe is basically Meiji era Japan turned to an anime. Now, naturally, there are anime classics. Kenshin has his Hiten Mitsurugi style, and Zoro would have used the Santoryu. But here's the thing. In Kenshin's world, the Santoryu would not actually work, because there is no way to physically hold a sword in your mouth that wouldn't rip your teeth and all the ligaments in your jaw apart. So Zoro would have been reduced to two-sword style in Kenshin's world, which would still very much work in real life. I use Nitoryu, two-sword style. I don't use Niten Ichiryu, which is short sword and long sword, or Musashi style. I use Nitoryu, two swords of the same length. Because of this, Kenshin, we need to examine Zoro's fighting style in this world. The Nitoryu focuses heavily on defense and offense at the same time. You're always either defending with one sword or attacking with the other sword. This gives someone a very distinct advantage because they don't need to choose which to do. In a classic sword fight, if you attack, then your opponent blocks. Now you can obviously parry off of his technique or unbind yourself. That's one thing. But with two swords, we'll use this as an example. With two swords, I can parry off his attack like this and then strike him like this. So we need to take into mind that Zoro would be using two-sword style, a style he is most familiar with. Zoro actually sucks using one-sword style. It's confirmed by him near the beginning of the series when he fights I think the fandom calls them I think they're actually called the Niku Pirates or the Cat Pirates shortly before Usopp joins the crew, where he says, if I only had one more sword. So Zoro would naturally use the style that best suits him. If he can't use three swords, he'd use two swords, the one that most suits him. Now, Zoro's whole fighting style is actually very aggressive. So he has a very front-forward fighting style that serves him well in the world of One Piece, where you see, basically I like to think of them as flying key slashes. Like when Mihawk cut that frozen tidal wave. I'm basically thinking that's similar to a Getsuka Tensho or a Kamehameha in slash form. Zoro can do similar shit to that as well. But in Kenshin's world, where he wouldn't have that ability in the same aspect, yes, we've seen Kenshin's Hiten Mitsurugi style, just tear a fissure through the earth. But that is actually more just the kinetic energy that Kenshin generates from the sword swing alone. In Kenshin's world, the Hiten Mitsurugi style is the most powerful style in the entire world. It is the strongest, those who master it, can basically take on hundreds of foes at one time. And if you're using a sword with a standard edge, that's going to be important in a moment, Geekopedia. If you're using a sword with a standard edge, then it basically slaughters everything in sight. However, with that in mind, Kenshin doesn't use a standard katana. His sword is reversed, as in the cutting edge is along the... On a normal sword, the cutting edge is here. On Kenshin's sword, the spine is where the cutting edge should be, and the cutting edge is where the spine should be. That makes sense. He uses what's called a sakabato, a reverse blade sword, so he doesn't kill anyone. If Kenshin used a regular sword, he'd be slaughtering people left and right. But because of this distinct disadvantage that Kenshin has, he limits his destructive capabilities. And it's been shown multiple times that with this handicap, if Kenshin had just used a regular sword in his series, then he never would have been defeated. He basically would have a 0 to 100 win streak. So in this world, in Kenshin's world, if Zoro and Kenshin were to meet, Kenshin not only would have an advantage of speed because he's able to move at the speed of sound. That's how fast users of the Hiten Mitsurugi can move. They can move at supersonic speeds. Well, not supersonic, but well over the speed of sound in their world. And they can actually swing their swords so hard that it creates a vacuum, sucking the opponent closer to them for a final strike. That's the Amakakario no Hiromeki. If I remember, that's the technique Kenshin uses. The Amakakario no Hiromeki. Which is where he draws his sword like a standard EI slash, but he swings it so fast that it creates a vacuum, sucking in his opponent, does one spin around, and brings the sword back around for a second slash. And it's basically confirmed to be impossible to escape this. The only ones that can escape the Amakakario no Hiromeki is another user of the Hiten Mitsurugi style. That is the only one that can basically surpass the Amakakario no Hiromeki. And there's two downsides to learning this. One is that you actually need to have the body of a WWE wrestler or a 1970s bodybuilder, because this style will wreak all kinds of hell on your body. I mean, it literally causes Kenshin's death in the series, how much he uses it and how many years he's used it, because he doesn't have the protective muscle that's built around his ligaments and joints to kind of cushion the recoil. Unlike his master, which I forget. I think his master's name is like Shiryo. His name escapes me at the moment, but Shiryo basically adopted Kenshin, taught him the style. Kenshin, as a kid, wanted to help save people, so he went, fought in the Meiji Restoration, got known as the Batosai, became tired of killing people, took up the reverse blade sword, started journeying, and then his past came back and everything, and he finally got peace in the end. But Kenshin in his prime, if we're going to do this, we need to make Kenshin in his prime, when he's at full absolute power, and that's shortly after. That is actually debatable. Some people think he's stronger after he became the Wanderer. Some people think he's stronger when he was Batosai. Batosai is not held back by the restriction of his reverse blade. So I'm actually going to say that Batosai, for the most part, until near the end of the series, Kenshin was stronger when he went Batosai, which was when he was prepared to kill someone. But near the end of the series, Kenshin, he got his first reverse blade sword turned out to be basically a prototype. And when he got the second one, or what is referred to as a true forge, when a swordsmith makes like a prototype sword, like let's say this sword was meant to be Cold Steel's prototype version of the O katana, they basically make the sword to spec and they test it and everything, and they're like, okay, this is what's good, this is what's good, this is what's bad, this is what's bad. And they basically abuse and test it until it breaks or fails. Then they go back and they make the true forged model with all the imperfections and stuff corrected. That was the same with Kenshin's sword. When he got his true sword, shortly before his fight with mummy guy, because I can't remember his name. He basically looks like a mummy in a kimono. In his final battle against the mummy samurai, he defeats him, and then he's told that the Hiten Mitsurugi has basically destroyed his body over the course of many years of using it. So I'm going to say, so for this fight between Kenshin and Zoro in his world, we're going to go with Kenshin as the Batosai. Just because there's not that much of a power difference between Batosai and regular Kenshin, in my opinion. It's just Batosai is willing to go that extra step and kill Zoro, which Zoro is more than willing to also, I would believe, go that extra step and kill Kenshin. So having both of them fight when they have the ability to kill each other would be the most fair. So Zoro, he's shown to be an extremely powerful, extremely strong swordsman. But in speed, Kenshin definitely has the advantage. Kenshin also has the advantage of agility. Zoro may have the edge in reflexes, but we have to take away his haki as well, which is a major power boost for Zoro. So in Kenshin's world, with all of his abilities, his training, and everything else, I honestly say if we were going to have them fight in Kenshin's world, where all of Zoro's big advantages are taken away, the three sword style, his haki, his flying techniques. I even want to say like his 3,000 worlds technique, where he spins the two blades between his hands. Like, I've never seen anyone in real life be able to spin the blades like that without some kind of hook around their fingers. I saw Hibachi Chef at Domo's do it, but there was a hook on his finger that he just spun the spatula around. Well, there was like a little hook on the spatula that he just spun around his finger. But yeah, in the case of in Kenshin's world, Zoro versus Kenshin, Kenshin would win simply because he has the speed, he has the agility, and also he has the techniques. Zoro's techniques work because he's in a world where the laws of physics basically let him use those techniques. He lives in an anime world. Zoro's techniques, even though Zoro is my favorite character and always repping my boy Zoro, you get at the end of the day, Zoro's techniques work on the principle of the rule of cool. If it's cool, it works. That's basically all anime techniques. The Kamehameha could not work in real life. There's no way to harness that much energy. Sorry, even to you, Geekopedia, and to all Dragon Ball fans, your boy Goku is completely unrealistic when it comes to his fighting abilities, except for straight out martial arts. The original Dragon Ball was far more grounded in that regard. Except for Tien basically doing a fucking shadow clone jutsu shit. Then, let's not forget, Kenshin, yeah, he does have outlandish techniques, but they're more realistic than you think. Okay? When you swing anything, you are actually creating wind as you swing it. Yeah, I'll admit, DBC kind of went wild with the outlandish mess. But yeah, outlandishness. Yeah, I got what you meant. When you swing a blade, whenever we swordsmen hear that tachikaze, or the sword wind sound, that is actually the sword generating wind. In Kenshin's world, the Hiten Mitsurugi, when you learn that style, it basically gives you the ability to amplify that wind. And I think the Hiten Mitsurugi has something to do with like dragons. So I think one technique is like Dragon's Claw, which basically like like a dragon's claws, like claws through the earth. Or like I think one of his techniques is like dragon hammer translated. But yeah, the Hiten Mitsurugi work if you just remove the whole like anime aspect of the Hiten Mitsurugi, it actually works as a real life style to some extent. So in Kenshin's world, the Hiten Mitsurugi is designed to be the most powerful sword style, and a lot of Kenshin's fights are actually, and a lot of the fight scenes in Kenshin are grounded in a real world sense of how an actual swordsman would use his sword. Okay, I could actually utilize a lot of Kenshin's techniques just without the destructive aspect. You know, if I went back and rewatched Rurouni Kenshin, which is something I might do. Thanks to you, Geekopedia. I might actually binge watch the fuck out of it tonight. But yeah. Zoro, let's say that Zoro has a style equivalent to the Hiten Mitsurugi. Let's say that Zoro has like the Nitoryu, or the two dragon sword style. Because Zoro has a lot of dragon techniques as well. Black rope dragon twister or Kokoto no Tatsumaki. He also uses Tatsumaki with his no sword style, where he basically just spins his body like he's performing the regular Tatsumaki. So let's say that Zoro with his twin dragon style went up against Kenshin. And Zoro could do similar shit. He has the raw power to basically match the Hiten Mitsurugi style. Zoro may have the raw power to match the destructive capabilities of the Hiten Mitsurugi, but there's one thing Zoro does not have. Zoro has always shown to be an extremely, like, front force, like, full-on brawler. He's never shown the dexterity and the stamina, the dexterity and the agility that Kenshin has. So with Kenshin's agility and speed, he has the advantage over Zoro. Now, Zoro also has endurance and stamina and durability, as we've seen him when he took on Luffy's pain, when he fought against Mihawk, all these things. Zoro and Kenshin, Zoro does have an extreme amount of durability, and if some of that durability and stamina crossed over to Kenshin's world, because we've seen there's a lot of people with extreme durability in Kenshin's world. There was this one guy who took a cannonball to the gut and nothing happened to him. Of course, he was overly sized anime logic, but still, Kenshin's world is more grounded in real world physics, but they actually give like explanations like, I've trained so hard and made my muscles so dense that I can be shot with a cannonball. One Piece, I'm a rubber man. I can be shot with a cannonball because I'm made of rubber. There's a very big difference. But yeah, so Zoro versus Kenshin in this world, Zoro's durability, strength, and stamina may be able to give him the edge to match Kenshin in terms of Kenshin's speed, because I don't believe Kenshin has the same amount of stamina or durability as Zoro. In fact, he doesn't have the same amount of stamina or durability. But in any sword duel, any swordsman will tell you that a man who's like 5 foot tall can defeat a 7 foot tall giant in a sword duel. Because at the end of the day, when you're fighting for your life, it's that one moment. All either Kenshin or Zoro would have to do is get that one moment where they're able to bypass their enemy's defenses and cut them. So Zoro versus Kenshin in Kenshin's world, I just gotta give it up to Kenshin. It's not that I'm favoring Kenshin because it's his world or anything. It's because Kenshin just has more advantages in his techniques alone. His techniques are more grounded and more suited to fighting a one-on-one duel. Zoro's techniques are not so much suited for one-on-one conflict, as Zoro is usually always fighting either multiple opponents or the one mid-tier boss of the arc. Zoro always takes on the second strongest character in the arc because he's the second strongest Straw Hat. Just like with Kaku, just like with pretty much everyone. Ryuma in Thriller Bark, some kind of giant squid dude on Fishman Island. Zoro is the second strongest of the crew. However, Zoro's overarching techniques are really more for mass damage, and when he is fighting one-on-one, he tends to fight more brawler than rely on his techniques. Yeah, with his fight with Kaku, he used a shit ton of different techniques. But Zoro is not a 1v1 fighter. He is usually a 1v5 or 1v10 or 1v20. He only fights one-on-one opponents when they are strong enough to actually fully occupy his time. Plus, he doesn't have, like I said, he doesn't have a lot of one-on-one brawling techniques. He has like the Niten, he has like the Sundai, not the Sundai Kitetsu. He has the three sword style and everything, but no, what the fuck am I trying to say here? He has like his Sundai Sakai, his Onigiri, his Tiger Trap. But whenever he's fighting one-on-one, he always relies on those big, powerful techniques to win his fight. In Kenshin's world, where Zoro doesn't have access to nearly as many of his powers, where he only has really his base-level physical brute strength and his body's natural endurance, stamina, and toughness, Kenshin's Hiten Mitsurugi style, which has techniques that are designed for both single combat and multiple combat, plus of the precision Kenshin has with his style. Kenshin just has more overall advantages because of his style's adaptability, because of his speed, his agility, his precision. I forgot to mention that. He's extremely precise, calculating. Zoro is more just like step up, bro. And I love Zoro as a character, don't get me wrong, but he has that step up, bro. I can just basically outmuscle you in every possible way kind of mentality. Kenshin's like, okay, so I'm fighting this giant ogre or whatever. All right, what's the best way to fight him? Okay, so he obviously uses nothing but brute strength. Just gotta outsmart him, pinpoint exactly where I'm going to hit, strike his elbow, strike his leg, strike his neck. Kenshin is more calculating overall, and he can do that in the heat of battle. Plus, I think Kenshin also has more years of training under his belt because Kenshin is older than Zoro. So Kenshin also has experience. So yes, in Kenshin's world, if Kenshin was fighting Zoro where all of his powers were taken away, if we're obeying the laws of physics of each world, Kenshin would win in his world. But in the One Piece world, that's a different story because in the One Piece world, Kenshin would also have access to a lot of the same benefits that Zoro has access to. Kenshin wouldn't, if Kenshin was born and raised in the One Piece world, we know that Kenshin would obviously, he'd learn observation haki, he'd learn armament haki. Kenshin may even have Conqueror's haki as well. I mean, not a lot of people have Conqueror's haki. That's kind of something you have to be born with. You can learn either of the other two, but Conqueror's haki is basically, you have to be born with it. But if Kenshin, let's just say for the Zoro is said to have Conqueror's haki as well, which I don't doubt. So let's just say both of them have Conqueror's haki, but neither of them have access to it. They just have access to armament and observation. Well, Kenshin, if he went through the same trials and tribulations he did back in his world, Kenshin's armament and observation haki would be stupid off the charts. Especially combining them with the Hiten Mitsurugi style, Kenshin would be overpowered as shit. He would be close to the same fucking level as Mihawk, and we've not seen Mihawk actually try and fight. Here's the thing. everyone says that Zoro's going to beat Mihawk at the end of the story. If that's true, I don't really foresee Zoro either living to tell the tale of fighting against Mihawk or walking away uncrippled. Because here's the thing, up until now, we've officially never seen Mihawk actually try in a fight. We've never seen him go full out. So with Mihawk as our base, pretty much rooftop power level, if Mihawk is basically here on the power scaling, I'd say Zoro is somewhere below this line. Like if right here is Mihawk's power level, my hairline, I'd say Zoro is somewhere here underneath my eyebrow, and Kenshin may be somewhere here, honestly. Just because of the way Kenshin is, and if he stayed the Batosai and didn't become a wanderer, I'd say that Kenshin may be the only one, aside from Red Hair Shanks, that could actually challenge Mihawk. Because everyone in the One Piece community basically thinks that Red Hair Shanks, the one who got Luffy into becoming a pirate in the first place, was at one time the world's greatest swordsman, and then when he lost his arm saving Luffy from a giant sea monster, Mihawk kind of got the title by default, or Shanks and Mihawk had fought before. Mihawk was able to defeat Shanks. No one knows how Mihawk got the title of the world's greatest swordsman, but he does. And that is basically not something you can just give to people. That is a title that comes with something. That is basically the equivalent of being like the king of the pirates, the world, like a celestial dragon, the king of the pirates, the strongest in the world. That is a very hard title to get, and that is almost impossible for anyone to get. Hence why Mihawk has to be so powerful. So if Mihawk is the top basis, and if Mihawk is 100%, I'd say Zoro is around 75% Mihawk's, maybe not 70, 60% Mihawk strength. Kenshin may be about 65. But yes, in this world, Zoro would also have access to his armament haki, his observation haki, all of his techniques, all of his powers, all of his abilities. But Kenshin would also have access to armament haki, and we would see like his Kenshin has flying techniques as well. We would see those get an explosive power boost, especially from armament haki and observation haki. Kenshin may even have armament and observation haki on the same level as the Dark King Rayleigh, who trained Luffy. Dark King Rayleigh was once considered the second strongest person in the world next to Goldie Roger, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, the man just walking out his door into the front yard is enough to basically make the entire world shit themselves. And he trained Luffy. So, naturally, Zoro is second strongest. So, in any case, I want to say that Kenshin does have, like, observation haki strong enough to see into the future like Karakuri did. I know I'm throwing a lot of, like, One Piece names at you, Geekopedia, but try to bear with it. There's kind of information you need to know. Like Karakuri did, he'd have armament haki. He'd have the highest form of arm. He'd have Ryo, which is basically armament the upgraded form of armament haki. You're good, man. Okay. Which Ryo is basically where you begin to punch somebody, but you don't actually connect. Your haki flies from your fist into the object that you're punching and then explodes from the outside. It's called Ryo, and you learn that in Wano, Land of Samurai in One Piece. So I'm pretty damn well sure that Luffy and Zoro both know Ryo. Zoro doesn't use it nearly as much as Luffy does, because Luffy's whole thing is punching, Zoro's whole thing is slashing, so just regular ornamental hockey is probably best suited for Zoro. But there's no doubt in my mind that Zoro doesn't know how to use Ryo. But that aside, Kenshin versus Zoro in this world, if Kenshin had access to all of these new powers, armament hockey and observation hockey, and he fought against Zoro in One Piece's world, it would be a lot more close of a fight because Zoro would be able to keep Kenshin at bay for the most part. Like if Zoro found that Kenshin's speed and agility was an issue for him, he'd be able to keep Kenshin at bay with flying attacks and flying slashes until he came up with like a plan to deal with him. Kenshin, on the other hand, like we would see like Hiten Mitsurugi, his slashes would become like flying slashes as well. So it would probably be a ranged battle for the most part, despite them being swordsmen. Eventually, they would start to inch their way closer as they kind of read each other's skills and powers, and they would get down to a melee fight. Now, since Zoro can use his three-sword style, he has full power and a full array of his techniques. He can use his one-sword, two-sword, and three-sword techniques. When in the other world, he could really only go down to one and two-sword. And backtracking a little bit, in Kenshin's world, his ultimate one-sword style, Death Lion Song, or Shishi Shun Shun, might actually clinch the win for Zoro just because of the fact that both Hiten Mitsurugi and the Shishi Shun Shun, Hiten Mitsurugi overall focuses primarily on drawing techniques, which the Sakabato is not necessarily meant for. The Shishi Shun Shun is also a drawing technique, and we've seen like Zoro use this technique, and he basically, in the time it takes to snap your fingers, can cut somebody down. So if Zoro is forced to use the Shishi Shun Shun against Kenshin, he might inch out the way, but I'm going to give Kenshin's Amamaka Ryo no Hiromeki the win there just because it's a two-phase attack. You create the vacuum suction to drawing your opponent and then swing again. So Kenshin would still win in the other world. In this world, Zoro would be able to use his Sundai Sakai, and his new technique after the time skip is Ichi Daizanzen Zanzai Sakai, which is 1 billion folds, 1 billion worlds, 3,000 worlds, which he basically cut a moon-sized meteor in half with. Yeah, our boy did Saitama. But unlike Zoro, unlike Saitama, unlike Zoro, Saitama completely destroyed his meteor. Zoro just cut his in half and then needed Mihawk to finish it off. That's why I said before, Mihawk is still more powerful than Zoro. It don't matter. I mean, people want to say that, like, oh, Zoro cut Kaido. Well, Odin cut Kaido. And Mihawk wasn't the greatest swordsman in the world when Odin was alive. At least we don't think. The consensus is Odin was not, like, Mihawk was not the strongest swordsman in the world when Kosuke Odin was alive. He got that title sometime after Roger's execution, if I remember correctly. So being able to cut Kaido, who is supposed to be the most powerful being, the most powerful monster creature in the world, Kosuke Odin did do it, but at the same time, Zoro also had Odin's sword, Enma, which Enma, as we've seen, basically amplifies your haki. So if Zoro is outputting haki at 10%, I want to say Enma gives it like a times 10 power boost at the very least. So if that's the case, a 10% times 10, that's like 100% blast that Zoro's doing unintentionally. So I'm really thinking it's because he has Enma that he was able to cut Kaido in the first place. Now I want to say that Zoro's haki alone was the reason, but Enma has been shown to amplify haki as Enma forcibly sucks out your haki and amplifies it. We've seen where Zoro was just meaning to cut a tree, but he changed the coastline of Wano in one swing. So I want to say that Enma is the reason why Zoro defeated, I'm not defeated, was able to cut Kaido. And even Kaido knew that that's, after seeing it for a little bit, he realized, oh fuck, that is Odin's sword. That is one of the only blades that have ever actually cut me. Now, if Zoro had been wielding Shushui, then yeah, we could chalk it up to Zoro's haki alone being the reason why he was able to cut Kaido. But he wasn't wielding Shushui. He was only wielding Enma. Well, along with Sandai and Ichimonji. But yeah, he was wielding Enma at the time. And he'll be wielding Enma in this fight as well, since it's his current sword and everything. In the current arc of the story, Zoro is wielding Enma instead of Shushui because Zoro's like, okay, this is like national treasure to you guys. I respected Ryuma, so I'm going to give it back to you guys. But I want another sword in return. Okay, I'm not that generous. Sounds like me in real life, eh, Geekopedia? But yeah. So, in this world, Zoro would have access to all of his powers. And even in the previous world, I want to say like he would have ditched. I honestly want to say he would ditch Sandai. Or you'd have Sandai on his hip. He would still carry 3 swords. He kind of does. He'd still carry 3 swords. It's just it wouldn't be using them all at once. And I will be right back. I have to attend to something. Sorry about that. Now what was I? Oh yes, Zoro. So in this fight between Zoro and Mihawk, and not Zoro and Mihawk, Zoro and Kenshin in this world, I honestly want to say that it's kind of hard considering Zoro has full access to his powers now. This is a hard one. I mean, I like both of them. I don't want to say it would end up as a draw necessarily, but it comes down to the more nitty gritty. Who has more experience? Who's been fighting longer? I want to say that it'd be on the razor's edge, but I think Zoro would win just simply because Kenshin's overarching, just because Kenshin doesn't have the physical strength to match Zoro. His armament haki and everything would bring him closer, but he doesn't have the raw physical power Zoro has in this world to give him the strength he needs to fight. So in the One Piece world, if Kenshin and Zoro were to fight by a razor's thin margin, Zoro would win. In Kenshin's world, it'd be a far wider margin, but Kenshin would win. And that is my thoughts on Kenshin versus Zoro. Oh, it looks like we have a second person viewing. Please write something in the chat so I know who you are. At least it says 2 people are watching. Solitaire game update. So I hope this settles your question, Geekopedia. Of Roronoa Zoro versus Roronoa Kenshin, and it's Renoe Kenshin, not Roronoa. Oh, I never told you. Well, I guess I did tell you why. Well, this has turned into a kind of my opinions on anime swordsmen, so you should pitch it to Death Battle. I think they've been pitching Rurouni Kenshin versus Zoro for like forever. I know they did a short where I think like Zoro won. But aside from that, anyone else want me to do a kind of in-depth analysis between anime swordsmen? Come on, pitch it to me. Pitch it, I say. Preach it, I say. Whilst we drink some good tea. That's the thing about these live streams. You need drink. Oop, got my thing. Come on, Geekopedia, throw another versus battle at me. I'm waiting. Or mysterious second viewer. Pitch an anime swordsman battle against me. Come on. Kind of off topic from the sword thing, but what do you think about Gogeta versus Vegito?
Bobby, you don't need the on.
Go, Misty. Well, let's see here. Gogeta versus Vegito. I'll be right back, but you can still hear me. I have to lock my door so a certain little someone doesn't get in here. There you go. Oh, and if you're wondering about what I have in my hand, if you haven't watched the video yet, I made a poor man's Naginata. Very poor man's Naginata from Dollar General. But, back to the topic at hand. Gogeta versus Vegito. Well, aside from being pretty much the topic of 90% of all internet debate on anime characters, if I had to throw my 10 cents into the mix, it honestly doesn't matter because Toriyama said it's basically a matter of time. I mean, if you're in a short fight, Gogeta. But if you're in a long fight, go Vegito. And I mean, Death Battle also kind of answered the question for us. Though, if you want my honest opinion, I'd say go with Gogeta simply because Gogeta is not like Vegito in personality sense. Vegito will basically just end the fight. And when I say end the fight, I mean he will literally just kill his enemy and be done with him. Vegito is more like Vegeta. His pride gets in his way. And he will extend the fight, elongate the fight. He will basically do anything and everything he can to make the fight go longer, just so he can have more fun with his fights. So if I had to pick between the two, I would go with Gogeta. Just simply because I'm not the type who likes to extend his fights. Beyond what I have to. Oh, this feels so much better. Made of rubber. Ha ha ha, what the fuck? Ugh. You try doing a live stream outside of a chair with no backrest. Made of rubber. Trust me, it is not a comfortable thing. But we were just discussing Gogeta versus Vegito. Oh, I guess he left. Okay, we're just gonna lean the sword up against the lap here. Okay. I think I'm good. See my fat ass belly. Made of rubber. He seemed to have watched my live stream for a little bit. And he commented, ha 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 ha, what the fuck? I don't know what he means by what the fuck, but okay. So, who else should I give my 2 cents on choosing in a fight? Okay, Samurai Jack this one's good. Samurai Jack versus Inuyasha. Oh, my boy Inuyasha be getting me into this. Who was the one that got me into anime? Okay, Samurai Jack versus Inuyasha. Inuyasha and Samurai Jack's worlds aren't that different if you really think about it, because Inuyasha deals with a lot of demons and magic and shit. Samurai Jack doesn't deal with magic as much, but he does deal with it. There are official gods and shit in his world, and he does deal with all kinds of monsters and evil killer robots and shit like that. So, in a fight between Inuyasha and Samurai Jack, if they were... Jack kind of deals with more steampunk. Yeah, that's what I said. Jack kind of deals more with robots and shit. And Inuyasha deals with like straight up flesh and blood demons. Though, if Samurai Jack was transported to Inuyasha's world, Inuyasha and Samurai Jack's world, he'd basically have all of his same powers and abilities, considering that magic exists in Jack's world. So I'm not going to take Inuyasha's abilities here. I'm going to say Jack gets transported to Inuyasha's world. Jack would actually feel very much at home in Inuyasha's world, considering Inuyasha, for the most part, takes place in feudal Japan. So Jack would be pretty much at home. He'd be able to communicate with everyone. And he'd basically have no issues with anything, really, except when it came down to a demon. Now, Inuyasha does have far more abilities and powers than Jack. He has his Iron Reaver Claw Stealer. He has his Blades of Blood. He has his Adamantite Barrage. He has Mato Zangetsuha. Tensaiga in general. He also has the Backlash Wave, the Bakuyuha, which is Backlash Wave in Japanese. He has the Wind Scar. He has the Red Tensaiga that boosts his attacks. But Samurai Jack's world, but with Samurai Jack, while he doesn't have nearly as many powers, his Sword of Righteousness would still pretty much be able to kill demons, simply because demons, for the most part, are evil. There are good demons in Inuyasha, but for the most part, they're evil. So his Sword of Righteousness would be able to fight demons and kill them. Damn. But I gotta give it to Jack in one regard. And that is his weapons training. Inuyasha basically has two forms of combat. The Tensaiga, his sword, or his claws. And if Inuyasha gets into a situation where he loses the Tensaiga, he goes full demon mode and basically attacks everyone. So Inuyasha's kind of limited to having to fight with the Tensaiga most of the time. Whereas Jack, if he loses his sword, he can just pick up a spear, pick up a bow. And with his modern weapons training, he'd also be able to pick up guns, lasers, grenades. Pretty much anything around Jack would become a weapon. Jack would obviously, if he was in this world, he would fight similar to Songo and Moroku. Really more similar to Songo because of the fact that the Demon Slayers, which Songo are a part of, basically utilize any and all kinds of weapons they can get their hands on. Jack is the same way. If it's a weapon, he'll figure out how to use it pretty much within a few seconds and start using it. He's a master at using the spear, the bow, the axe, the sword. We've seen him use daggers and shuriken. All kinds of different weapons. So in a fight between Inuyasha and Samurai Jack, Inuyasha definitely has the overall raw power. Inuyasha could actually just one-shot Aku. And I know that's hard to imagine, but Inuyasha has the power to one-shot Aku and pretty much any villain of Samurai Jack's universe. So Inuyasha definitely has the raw overall power to beat Jack. But Jack also has the skills, the training, and the more diversity to avoid Inuyasha. But if it came down to it, Inuyasha with one decent wind scar or a backlash wave would kill Jack. Now, if it's a situation where the only way that would make this fight equal is if Inuyasha had to fight Jack during the time of a new moon, which is when there's no moon in the sky and half-demons lose their powers. It happens with Inuyasha, and it happens in Yashahime as well. With Shishomaru's half-demon daughters, I think one loses their powers on the new moon and one loses their powers on a full moon. But yeah. In that instance, oh, Samurai Bird, you've joined us, Team Shishomaru. Okay, yeah, I'll give it to you. Shishomaru is a badass, especially in the new Yashahime series, where his dick attitude is redeemed tremendously. Oh, also, say hello to Geekopedia, if you would, please. And one last thing before I continue with that discussion. Samurai Bird in kanji. With the whole eagle and katana land. What's up? I'll give you a moment to look at this. I was hoping you'd join us. But in a fight between Inuyasha and Samurai Jack, the only time though this fight would be anywhere... Hello, Pedia. Oh, you're abbreviating. Okay. The only time where... Thank you. I'm going to try to start making little wall scrolls. And you also said you wanted a beer, so convenient. For the noble ones who watch the live streams. But yeah, the only time the whole thing with Inuyasha and Samurai Jack would be equal is when Samurai Jack meets Inuyasha on the night of the new moon, where he loses all of his demonic powers. Even then, it's not fair for Inuyasha because Jack is extremely skilled at pretty much anything. Even if Inuyasha gets him to lose the sword, he'll just pick up a naginata and still shish kebab Jack. Which, this is the poor man's naginata I made. I know, it's horrible. Yeah, we were just discussing Samurai Jack and anime swordsmen in general having a fight. Most of this live stream was me ranting about Zoro and Ronoi Kenshin, which in Kenshin's world, I gave the victory to Kenshin. In One Piece, I gave it to Zoro on a razor's thin margin. But yeah. On the night of the new moon, that would be the only time that this fight would be anywhere near equal for both combatants. Although there is one thing that would spare Inuyasha, and that's Jack's sword can't actually kill anything. Or it can't kill those who are pure-hearted. We saw this when Aku tried to kill Jack with his own sword. Cores will work. Jack got more skill in the end. As much as I hate to admit it, being an Inuyasha. Hey, join the club, bro. Inuyasha was the thing that got me into anime to begin with. My aunt used to show me Inuyasha all the time, and I used to poke and prod my uncle every Sunday morning. Turn on Inuyasha. Turn on Inuyasha. So yeah, I'm an Inuyasha fanboy too, but still, gotta give it to Jack. But any other time, if Jack and Inuyasha were to meet, we all know one backlash wave would basically end Jack. Or one Mato Zangetsuha. Well, Jack may be able to escape the pull of the Mato Zangetsuha, but the backlash wave ain't nothing getting away from that shit. I mean, the only technique Inuyasha has with the Tensaiga Jack may be able to handle is Adamant Barrage. So, yeah. I actually had the beer box sitting in here for like a week. Or maybe a couple of months, and I actually did this whole thing while I was watching your live stream here at home. It's your name written in kanji with your Murasame two-tone rap and a path leading through Katana Land. Ninja Scroll Jubei is a badass. I watched Ninja Scroll, but it was one of those times where I was really watching anime just to kill time, so I didn't really pay attention. But I do remember him being a badass, especially in the movie. Because I watched the Ninja Scroll movie, too. Though with Jubei versus... Right on, man. Thanks, bro. So that gives me the idea. Jubei versus Jack. That might be a more fair match than him versus Inuyasha. Especially since Jack also basically does everything Jubei does with his shinobi techniques. Let's just face it, Samurai Jack was the original American anime. He's the closest thing America will ever have to producing actual anime. Yeah. So, Samurai Bird, anything you want to discuss? Aside from the Samurai Jack versus Jubei thing? Because you would be more of the Jubei expert, and I'm going to admit that straight out. I don't really remember a lot from Samurai Scroll, except for the fight with the cat girl, where Jubei basically does this, like, I think it was something like this, and swings up. Alright. Well, Gigapedia is leaving us. It's cool, bro. I know you ain't feeling well today. So I was asked you to tune in to like we would mostly have a one-sided conversation, so at least we get to talk about something. And I get to talk to the rest of the Noble Outlaws as well. Yeah. Honestly, if I'm going to do the comparison between Jubei and Jack, I kind of want to give it to Jack just because experience and weapons training. What do you think, Samurai Bird? Thanks to you too, bro. I had fun as well. And it was a nice live stream as well. Like I said, I watched Ninja Scroll the movie, but this was like years ago. Like back in high school. Watched 13 Assassins. Couldn't really keep up with it. And I don't know if this sounds wrong, but a lot of the actors in the old Chinese movies and even some of the new Japanese movies, if they don't have distinctive enough clothing, I kind of get them all confused with each other. What was the question again? Samurai Jack, Jubei, V 1-on-1 V. Samurai Jack versus Jubei. Personally, I'm going for Samurai Jack because of experience and weapons training and skill. Not to mention, he also has almost 150 years of fighting under his belt because of the canon 5th season. Almost 100 years. One of the two, 150 and 100. What do you think? Just playing with my beard. This is the longest it's been, and I don't know how long. I look like a fucking Amish guy. Like my name should be Jebediah. That's a tough one. Probably Jack. It's just as hard for, like, without some kind of superpower or some kind of ability. Jack is basically, if you took the entirety of an Army Ranger group, stuffed them into one person and handed the guy a sword. It's like, hello, 5th Regiment. We are now going to make all of you do the fusion dance to one person, and here's a sword. Go kill the immortal demon lord. Why does that sound so much? Samurai Jack could have so easily been an isekai, which I know you don't really. One Punch Man. Jack, in the manga, One Punch Man nearly blows up Jupiter. So yeah, I'm giving that fight to Saitama. Like, even if you made Saitama blind, deaf, and drunk, he'd still figure out a way to beat Jack. Oh, and by the way, when I made the reference on one of your last live streams, I was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards when I made that Red Eyes and Dark Magician reference. Red Eyes is my favorite archetype to play in Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh, well. I mean, now Goku versus One Punch Man, that might be different because both Goku and Saitama are planet-busting level power, especially with Dragon Ball Super. But I kind of give it to Goku just simply because I want to say that explains it. Thanks. Like, if you watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, within like 20 episodes, you're going to find out what I mean. I mean, I think episode 2, Yugi plays Dark Magician, and Joey gets Red Eyes somewhere down the line in season 3, and then Kaiba with Blue Eyes. It's a whole thing. You gotta watch the OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Saitama versus Goku. Like I said, I'm giving Goku the W for that just simply because of his larger variety of techniques. He has more fighting experience under his belt. And the fact that really Goku, if he wanted to, would kill his opponent, but he doesn't want to. Saitama would basically just go in, and if his serious series of punches didn't work, he'd basically have nothing else to do. But yeah. And I didn't even recognize that I had titled this Sword Talk like you did. I had the video, I was watching you on my phone and had live chat pulled up all the time. Yeah. But what did you think of my poor man's Naginata? I'm more Team Vegeta. I mean, Vegeta, he might pull out a W against Saitama as well, but Vegeta would be more amped to kill Saitama in a 1v1. At least old school Vegeta. Dragon Ball Super kind of like mellowed Vegeta out a shit ton. Like old school Vegeta was that tight hard ass you always have to work at the office, but as soon as 420 rolls around, Super comes in with the blunt. Oh, well. Sneak preview then. This is not structurally, I don't think this is structurally sound. I mean, it feels strong enough to do a cutting, but I haven't actually done the video yet. Its edge isn't the greatest, but it bites. Most of that video is just me working in silence, struggling to fit the blade into the grip. My struggles were real. But by the by, what do you think of it? That's why I titled it Zen, which is like just 20 minutes of watching me struggle so other people can feel better. I mean, I had my choice between this and this and this one. I chose this one because it has a more pronounced tip and is a bit longer. And usually, I was like, thank you. Don't forget, this is Ryan Sword's updated model. This is the updated model of Ryan Sword's Nagi. I had to do that. I had to make that joke. You picked the right blade. Thanks. Like I said, Ryan Sword should contract me to make the Nagi knots. So as soon as I swing this thing at a bottle, it's just gonna. I have duct tape that I'm going to put on this to reinforce it. And maybe like some sort of reinforcement. I'm sure it works better than the riots. Well, that's what I was saying. I was going to put some kind of reinforcement right here. Like maybe a stick or something. And duct tape it there to kind of. Because it's secure, but it does wiggle a bit. Now I can keep from hiccuping. But with that in mind, I've pretty much ran out of things to ramble on and talk about. So, is there any questions you have for me before I sign off? Sorry about not doing this at a better time where we could have a more proper discussion with the rest of the Noble Outlaws. I thought about using steel pipe as well. Good idea. Steel pipe to fix the Naginata, right? That sounds like a good idea. Yes and no. Good in it's structurally sound and everything, but bad in like if the pipe isn't thick enough, even steel, when you strike something hard, it's going to bend. And getting a bend out of pipe is not a good Nah, I'm live streamed out today. Yeah. Like I said, the pipe will bend and it won't be easy to get that bend out. Now, if it's a good thick pipe, should I sharpen my key blade? I got it at a convention. Like, are we talking one of those pocket knives that look like a key, or are we talking keyblade from Kingdom Hearts? Because if it's a keyblade from Kingdom Hearts, I just use that thing as an oversized club, personally, and just beat the shit out of people. Yeah. Okay, Kingdom, yeah, I just use it to beat the shit out of people. Like, someone's breaking into my house, it's like, BAM! Around the corner. I just imagine like a square block ramming you right in the face. That's not going to heal right. Yeah, back onto the Naginata thing. Steel pipe would work, But what I would do is I make sure it's a good, thick, and narrow steel pipe, so it takes a lot of the chance of it bending out. Of course, I will add a shit ton of weight. I would also, um, I would also think about trying to shove a wooden dowel up into the pipe to increase its rigidity, up to where it would just barely touch the tang of the naginata, and I'd fill that with JB Weld resin to keep it in place. So it wouldn't be something you could take apart anymore, but it's going to be pretty damn indestructible by the time you get done. That's my thoughts of using a steel pipe on a naginata. And it may have the characteristics of a quandao, which is like the Chinese version of the naginata when you're done. Blue Venda, Kingdom Hearts, LOL, fair enough. JB Weld is awesome. Hello, Blue Venda. Sam, are you still here, Samurai Bird? Because Blue Venda is just... I don't think I have this thing on slow-mo. Yeah, I thought about it, that too, making a good naginata is difficult. Yep. I literally spent $20 on this. That's not including the tape. Well, you said good naginata, not an ugly piece of apocalypse trash. Though, is it sad that I still have the broom? I'm a slow typist. Join the club. It takes me 3 hours to write a paragraph for anything. I mean, I can type fast, but you won't be able to understand anything I type. Or it will be misspelled out the shit. Maybe I could do something with this as well. I mean, that one is don't knock it. It's better than mine. Blue Vendetta asks, "What's my favorite sword?" That's a bit of a rocky relationship there. I actually have two favorite swords. This one, the Cold Steel Warrior O series katana, and my Dragon King Winter Sun katana, which I do not have here at my parents'. This one is my favorite because of its size. This is a big sword, and if you ask Samurai Bird, he can tell you personally that I like big swords. I like long, big swords. I want to make a longer suka for this thing and extend it out to like 14, 15 inches to kind of match the blade. So just to give you kind of like a size comparison. Well, remove that. Walking Dead standard 27-inch katana. Cold Steel Warrior O katana. This is basically a daisho to me. Yeah, I love huge two-handed swords too. It's freaking huge. Beautiful. Thanks. And now I have a daisho. That works for me. Like, even though I'm like inches away from my ceiling, the fact that I can swing these around, a full-size sword inside the house, that just shows how much I swing my swords. Do you have any training? Most of my training, believe it or not, is either self-taught. I learned from sparring videos on YouTube. And someone's going to laugh at me for saying this, but anime. I get 90% of my training from anime. You know, the shit that really shouldn't work in real life, but I can pretty much make it work, kind of. And the rest of it is really just self-taught from swinging my sword like a madman every day. I literally wake up and the first thing I grab isn't my wallet, isn't my phone, isn't my watch. It's one of my swords, and I just start swinging my blades. That's how much of a sword freak I am. My day does not start, and it doesn't end until I've swung a sword. I'm pretty much the same for me, LOL, I hope. I'm good at sticking to the couch. Hey, we learn, even when we're not doing anything, we're still training, okay? Pretty much the same for me, LOL. I hope to forge my own one day. That's what I want to do too, but every time I've gone to get a forge, man, and I know I've been saying this, I'm going to get a forge, I'm going to get a forge, I'm going to get a forge. But every time I've gone to get a forge, something else has popped up and gotten in my way. At this point, since I work at Menards, I basically have access to all the materials I need to make a forge. So I might just get the shit from Menards and build a forge out of red brick and olfactory cement and hope to God I don't blow myself up. I know exactly what I'm... They're so expensive, I'm thinking about just going to school for it. Nah, I meant sticking to the couch with my... That too, I even sleep with my swords. Don't tell my other swords, they might think I'm cheating. If swords could turn into women, I'd have a fucking harem. Is it legal to marry your swords? If that's true, I might be having multiple affairs. No, but you're lucky. Your swords are right above your couch, okay? Well, most of my swords are right around my bed, so I'm pretty much always making love to one of my swords or another. That came out wrong. It was like, cringe. I can't stop stepping on something. I need to clean my fucking room. That's what I need to do. It's like I'm a goddamn bachelor at college. But yeah. I don't have any formal training at all. Most of my training comes from other swordsmen. And the sheer fact that when I do have the occasion, in some states it's like, I need a list. I need a list, homeboy. Okay? Viva Las Vegas! But okay, yeah, so there's no updates to it yet. Yeah, I have no formal training at all. To answer your question. The closest thing I have to formal training is sparring with my friend Outlaw Knight, which give that boy a bow staff and ooh shit. Even when I'm using my arguably strongest techniques, which is two-sword style, my brother and I used to pour gas on our swords, light them on fire. Oh, that made me cringe. It's like you just kicked me in the nuts. It's okay, baby. The mean demon man won't be able to get you. lighting a sword on fire that wasn't meant to light a sword on fire just cringes to me. It's like when it's that same thing when one dude gets kicked in the nuts and every guy in the fucking gym just like we all feel it. This mental link, we all feel it at the same time. I feel the great disturbance in the force, as if 1,000 Voltron, if it was 1,000 Voltron geeks that had bought swords in real life. But yeah, what? No, Misty, you're not coming in here. We had no clue what we were doing. I know, but still, it's the same phenomena. I don't mean it, I'm just playing. I try to make these live streams entertaining by making myself look stupid. And you can tell I have a lot of self-esteem. And I completely forgot a Zoro action. It's like, get over here. I should have used this when I was doing the whole Zoro rant. Yes, I bought a Zoro action figure. Don't judge me. But yeah. Personally speaking, I don't really believe you need formal training to use a sword. If you're just going to be doing bottle cutting, all you really need is like just a basic how-to, like swing, do this, do that, and you basically can cut bottles in your backyard, no problem. If you're going to do any kind of actual sparring, formal training may be a good idea, especially if it's like, all right, this is my first time holding a sword, let alone swinging it. I want to actually spar in like sparring competitions and such. Formal training may be a good thing, but here's the thing. Formal training can take you so far. You can learn the techniques, you can learn the form, you can learn the kata of your school, but at the end of the day, you're never going to actually use the techniques in the same way you were taught. Because I can teach you, like if I'm a sword master, I can teach you how to cut straight down. But you might like cut straight down and turn it into a thrust, or you might thrust and then cut straight down. Kind of like you learned how to cut down, but then you create your own version of that technique. So formal training will only ever take you so far, and once you've kind of mastered the formal training, shit's out the window from there. You either have to improve your training, you either need to improve the techniques on yourself, by constantly sparring, or basically just stick to that one set of kata, those exact forms and everything, and pray to God you find an opponent that it works against. All right? Swordsmanship is an ever-evolving thing. You never stop learning. You never stop training. There is no true mastery of the sword. There is no true completion to your training. There is only ever growing stronger and growing faster, growing and growing and growing until you've reached the pinnacle of what your body alone can handle. All right? Even Samurai Bird said himself, in 10 years, he won't be able to swing a sword anymore. Which is sad, but in 10 years, he will have reached the pinnacle of his abilities. Do you think real lightsabers will ever be possible? Yes, I do think real lightsabers are a possibility, just not with the technology we have available right now. Because the way I understand a lightsaber working is it basically like a plasma torch, but there's an electromagnetic field that contains the plasma. And whenever you cut something, and I will be too old Well, I didn't really want to mention the too old part. I was like more like distinguished old swordmaster retiring kind of motif is where I was going with it. But the way I understand the lightsaber working, and it's really not plasma at all. What it's powered by is the kyber crystal. The kyber crystal basically produces its own energy. And the energy is then shot through the lightsaber handle. And I imagine a electromagnetic field that is self-contained around the energy. Like, basically like a... And in actuality, there would have to be like some sort of node at the top of the lightsaber to redirect it downwards, the electromagnetic field. Unless there's like some sort of mechanism in the hilt that kind of forces the electromagnetic field to end at this closed off point at a certain length. Then the energy fills in that void of the electromagnetic field and you have lightsaber, which cuts through pretty much anything. So I don't think a real lightsaber is out of the question. It's just not possible with the technology we have nowadays. The closest thing we have nowadays is something made by Hacksmith, which is kind of like this tungsten rod that has some sort of coil wrapped around it that makes it glow red hot. And then when you put it on something, it will either cut or melt. It will either melt its way through the object or burn its way through the object. And by the by, if you stab a human with a lightsaber, yeah, it's not just going to be a little stab wound. You have a lightsaber. Watch Shatterversity's whole explanation of the lightsaber because this is where I'm getting a lot of my stuff from. That sounds expensive, LOL. It would be. A real lightsaber would probably cost you the same as a new Tesla off the assembly line, or a Ford Cobra, or Mercedes-Benz, or Ferrari, or Hollywood Mansion. How would you design your own lightsaber? Honestly, it pretty much looked like this. What I would do for any kind of lightsaber would actually, so you can use real life sword techniques with it, I would actually just make the very edge of the sword the lightsaber part, and everything from the lightsaber back be metal. A metal that could repel other lightsaber blades. I think that's like Mandalorian steel or something. But I would use just the very edge because you don't need a lot. And I'd mainly just leave the tip as a lightsaber point to stab into things. Because once you've stabbed into things, it's basically just the cutting edge. And then if you have a part where you can put your hand on and kind of force your way out, or even like parry another lightsaber and then come in, use more sword techniques than just swing it around. Beskar steel. Thank you, Samurai Bird. I would use Beskar steel basically for the whole construction except for the edge. I would put the kyber crystal either somewhere near the hilt or somewhere traditionally within the blade, but I'd probably have a pommel or something down here, like a fishtail pommel, because I like those styles of pommels I can slide my hand over. And I'd have the kyber crystal down here in the end of the sword. Just because, like, it's like She-Ra. I'm going to use She-Ra's sword for an example. The crystal in She-Ra's sword from He-Man basically channels the powers of Grayskull. When it's broken, she can't use her sword anymore. Same with the kyber crystal. I'd want the kyber crystal as far away from the blade as possible to keep it safe. So the body would be Beskar steel with a saber edge. Pretty much with just a lightsaber edge. And I would obviously add a handguard. That's something that Scalagrim and I think even Shad from Shadiversity was saying. There's no handguards. Why make a laser sword with no guard? Kylo Ren It's canon. The only reason Kylo Ren's lightsaber had a guard was because he fucked up making the lightsaber and had to make side vents to keep the thing from blowing up. What? Just one moment. I know a band of outlaws. Oh, no, live streaming. Well, you get the tote and get back in here. You can pause it. I am sorry, my noble band of outlaws. I have to take care of something. I will be back in about 10 seconds. And I'm back. Sorry, I had to take care of something. I know it's not very professional to leave in the middle of the live stream. But in any case, yes, the body would be made of Beskar steel with only the tip of the sword exposed as a lightsaber and edge. In actuality, I wouldn't even use a lightsaber to begin with. Simply because I find them to be flimsy. And what I mean by flimsy is, yes, their blades can cut through pretty much anything in the Star Wars universe, but if the handle gets damaged, it's basically useless. I would use what is known as a kyber saber. In Star Wars canon and lore, a kyber saber is basically a sword with a kyber crystal embedded in the hilt, so that the energies from the kyber crystal flow into the blade itself and basically give it the same... you think it would be too light, need weight for balance. No, it's not a balance issue. But as I was saying with the kyber saber, the energy from the kyber crystal would flow into the sword blade, basically allowing me to do all the same things a lightsaber would, with also giving me the advantages of using a regular sword. And I don't think a lightsaber would be too light. I think it's too fragile. Because let's say this is my lightsaber. Yeah, the blade and everything's strong, but what if my opponent slices my handle? And I know, like, normal lightsabers have a grip like this, but some actually have space have a space in between your two hands. What if he slices my grip or plasma or laser? Is it a plasma gun that they use in Star Wars? In any case, if one of the stormtroopers, because we all know clone troopers, because we all know stormtroopers ain't hitting shit. If a stormtrooper blasts my lightsaber handle, that's the end of it. So the lightsaber's destroyed. Nothing I can do. I've basically been robbed of my only melee weapon. That's the thing. Jedi, you should have learned how to use guns. And I know this is coming from a sword guy, but you should have learned how to use guns. It's like true. So yeah. I mean, at the time, it was cool. Laser sword and everything. But when Star Wars was out in the world, pretty much the only depictions we had of swords were the outlandishly oversized fantasy swords that the heroes used in sword and sorcery movies. And only the ones who practiced Japanese swordsmanship or any swordsmanship in general at the time in like 1980s and something knew how a sword actually functioned. With modern day viewing and the modern day sword community, we can sit back and it's like, okay, this wouldn't work, that wouldn't work, that wouldn't work, this needs to be done, this needs to be improved, that needs a guard. Because any sword object that doesn't have a guard, or even a Suba is better than nothing, because the Suba and all hand guards show two purposes. Protect your hand from incoming blades and protect your hand from sliding up the blade. When I unboxed the Shirasaya for the project sword, I got so used to being able to just let the sword go and use the Suba as kind of like a stop that I almost slit my hand open again. Like, because I had cut my hand open with an axe right there beforehand. So yeah, I would add a suba, and I would basically just basically leave the edge a lightsaber blade. Because the whole thing does not need to be a lightsaber to have the same advantage. Plus, if a lightsaber is coming in, I can block and press an advantage I have because I can leverage my way through the cut now, especially if I'm cutting into an opponent's neck. Well, this is a bastard German style of gets my otaku sensibilities. If he's swinging directly at me, bap, bap. I mean, you can argue you can do the same thing with a regular lightsaber. True. But every time lightsabers touch each other, they stick. What we swordsmen refer to as a bind. So there's a chance that my lightsaber would stick, hitting you. With a Becker steel body, it will just bash it away, and then I would have a huge hand guard like a broadsword. That's actually a very good idea if you're going with OG traditional lightsabers, because if it is an energy does have mass and everything, but that's a science above my pay grade. Let's just say that the blade is pretty much lighter than hell, and all the mass is in the grip. That would actually make very good sense. A basket hilt on a lightsaber made of Becker steel. That if this Taco Bell cup served as our handguard, would make very decent sense. Though, personally, I'd rather have a slimmed down saber hilt or a cutlass hilt. Not saying the basket hilt isn't good, but my personal opinion, never held one before, but in my personal opinion, from what I've seen, I feel it's kind of restrictive for the wrist. Whereas with a saber's hilt that tapers down into the knuckle guard or the bow, it frees up the wrist more. And it still offers you the same. Seriously, even cutting into my ceiling, it doesn't dull. It still offers you the same protection front-wise as a basket hilt. But also frees up the wrist, in my opinion. I don't know if that's true. Like I said, never held a Scottish basket hilt sword. Personally, if I was going to stick a guard onto a lightsaber, if we're talking OG lightsaber where I don't have to worry about forward weight being an issue, like with a sword blade, and basket hilt would work too, but taking into consideration if you're going to go with my idea of having a Becker steel, pretty much a Becker steel blade with the lightsaber edge, then you have to worry about blade weight. But if I'm going OG lightsaber, well, I don't need to concern myself with the weight of the sword blade. I'd actually use a cross guard with rings, like on a lot of Renaissance era swords. I'd have a cross guard with side rings, or a Kriegsmesser style guard with a noggle that goes over my knuckles. I'm not a fan of the basket hilt simply because it eliminates the ability to use two hands. And that's why I'm not a big fan of one-handed swords either. Whenever I'm using a one-handed sword, I don't know what to do with my other hand. It's either behind my back or I'm always attempting to put my hand onto the blade. Like, it's just instinct reaction for me to want to put two hands on a sword if I don't have another sword in my hand. That's why I find Nitoriu so comforting. It's because both of my hands have something to do in the fight. Lightsaber nunchucks. That sounds like something Geekopedia would make. Would you add any accessories like inlaid gold or braided fabric on the handle? First, I'll answer the Samurai Birds thing. With lightsaber nunchucks, there's a good chance as soon as you throw it behind you, you're going to stab yourself in the back. And that's the same thing I told Geekopedia. The lightsaber naginata, that would be something. And now, Blue Vendetta, would you add accessories? Yes, I'd add accessories. Of course, I'm going to pimp out my sword a bit. First of all, I would remove all the excess bulk we see on a lightsaber and make it far more sword-like. We've seen the technology to do that with Ahsoka Tano's lightsabers. Lightsaber handles can be slimmed down and compact. They don't need to be overly bulky. And that's one thing I hate about the overly bulky lightsabers is that there's so much shit sticking out and poking out, and you can't get a comfortable grip. I'd slim down the grip. I'd put the kyber crystal in the bottom with a good pommel. I'd wrap it in leather, naturally, for that grip. And maybe I'd have some sort of like runes carved into the blade, like in Mandalorian speech. Yeah, Naginata sounds better than lightsaber. Just make sure you don't get it from Ryan's swords. I'm sorry, I had to do that. But yeah, I'd add leather to it. Maybe even my classic two-tailed tassel. Okay, this is becoming an outlaw classic right here. Pretty much all the swords I use most of the time have it. I'll be there in a minute. But yeah, I'd add leather, a good quality leather that will increase my grip. Naturally, I'd also add a guard. Maybe some nice cutouts, a good wide circle guard, disc guard. Because disc guards, you can make them large. Lightsaber throwing stars, eh? Ooh, that sounds interesting. Because with disc guards, you can make them very large without throwing off the balance too much. So, yes, I would pimp my sword. Or lightsaber. And yes, Samurai Bird, lightsaber throwing stars, good, but also bad. Good is in when you activate them, they'll basically, if you throw them hard enough, basically cut through anything and go through their targets. Bad is if you lose them and then you're out the kyber crystals that required to make them. They would just go through anything you throw it at. Well, not entirely, because look at Vader's armor and look at Mandalorian Becker steel. As far as I know, Becker steel is supposed to be the most powerful material in the Star Wars canon that is even capable of repelling lightsabers. So Mandalorian armor, those ninja stars might not go through. And Darth Vader's armor is already shown to have high lightsaber resistance from the original saga when Luke cut him. So yeah. But you have to remember, the amount of kyber crystals you'd have to get your hands on to make those throwing stars. Maybe a lightsaber boomerang. That would be more practical. Especially, well, real boomerangs that are designed for hunting don't come back to you. The boomerangs that come back to you are usually for toys. Although there is one thing that would make this work, and that's like you throw it and then you just use the force to bring it back to your hand. That could work for the ninja stars as well. But I'm thinking, like, if you're in a major battle, like, the ninja stars would either be used for quick assassination or distract. Well, traditionally, ninja stars or shuriken were used to distract your opponent. But a lightsaber one would be, like, just quick kill, force, bring it back. But if you're in a major battle and you have multiple opponents all around you, and you're throwing these shuriken out, you're not going, because using the force takes a lot of mental strain. I don't think you're going to be able to just draw them back to your hand and keep re-throwing them. Because eventually, your physical strength, as long as your mental strength to hold the power of the force, will start to deplete. And if you can't retrieve those shuriken, you are out a lot of valuable kyber crystals that would be used to make them. What do you think of the new show with the lightsaber bow and arrows? I don't think I've seen that new show. I think I watched the first season of Obi-Wan. But lightsaber, bow, and arrow, I feel would have the same drawbacks as the lightsaber, shurikens, and boomerang. The boomerang may work a little better because it's only one object you need to use the force to bring back. And if you're using a hunting boomerang, that thing can go through like 20, 30 opponents before it starts to lose momentum. And honestly, if you're using a boomerang format, you may be able to just like flip it around and use one end as a traditional lightsaber if you had to. Because hunting boomerangs have a short side and a long side. Just flip the short side around to where it's facing you. Like just turn a little knob for like a safety switch. Or like push a button that turns on a safety so that the other lightsaber, so that the blade doesn't split and stab you. And just focus all of it out one end and boom. Impromptu lightsaber. So the lightsaber boomerang is actually very utilitarian and can work well in certain situations. Boomer saber. like if you're an Aussie Jedi. Quarky, I got me boomer saber, mate. Yeah, one problem, the need of Beskar gloves to handle all these goofy weapons, lol. Maybe not. Because obviously there's abilities to set timers on things in the Star Wars universe. All you have to do is basically hook up a sensor that reads while it's in the hand. The sensor would say in the hand, so it wouldn't deploy. But after you throw it, like 2 seconds later, the sensor senses the movement of being thrown and then deploys the lightsaber blades instantly as it's flying through the air. And then once the blades will stay deployed for so long, like 10 seconds after they're thrown, the blades will resheath themselves, basically. And then you just use the force and draw it back. Or push button timer on the shurikens. Even with the boomerang, if you just flip the safety on and the blade only comes out one way, you basically have a lightsaber again. Well, like you said, they could be force operated. Well, yeah, just use the force. Though from what I've heard about lightsabers, the force is not actually what makes the lightsaber blade pop out. It's the kyber crystal's energy being focused through some sort of like thing in the hilt. The kyber crystals are just powered by the force itself in general. So pretty much anyone can actually turn on and use a lightsaber. It's just the only ones that can actually utilize the force alongside it are the force sensitive Jedi. But yeah, the boomer saber has very high potential, in my opinion, to be very useful in the Star Wars universe. But onto that bow and arrow. The bow and arrow do not seem useful because they share the same problem as the shuriken. And what part is the lightsaber? Are the limbs the lightsaber, or is it the string? Because if the string's the lightsaber, like you said, okay, I thought the chat was updated. But like you said, if the string is the lightsaber, you would need Becker gloves in order to handle the lightsaber string. And just bringing the string back to your draw point, like if this was a bow and this was my draw point, the lightsaber would completely burn the hell out of you. You'd basically need a Mandalorian helmet just to use the thing. And if it slaps your arm without a Becker steel arm guard, yeah, say goodbye to your forearm.
it's basically follows the rule of cool. If it's cool, it works, but the rule of cool can't always apply when you think practically. Because when you think practically, it's like, wait a minute, this doesn't work anymore. Now, there is a way for the lightsaber bow and arrow to actually work, and that's if it's a takedown bow. Like in real world with takedown bows, you unscrew a bolt, you can take the limbs off. In this world, like, there's a mechanism that, like, if the string is attached via magnets, you detach the string, the limbs. Oh, actually, I had never really understood how Chewbacca's crossbow really worked. I don't think Chewbacca's crossbow is necessarily a lightsaber bow. I think it's more just like an electric bow, like it shoots lightning bolts, like laser bolts. I don't know. I've never paid attention to Chewbacca's weapons. I always just paid attention to Chewbacca when he went. I can't do the Chewbacca roar. But there is one way that the lightsaber bow could work. The whole thing is an actual bow. The string is connected via a magnet. You detach the magnet, and then like the bow limbs fold down, like kind of like Hawkeye's bow, fold down into like pommels. Then you twist the bow, and then two lightsaber blades come out from the two bow halves. And that would be the most efficient way, in my mind, to make a lightsaber bow actually work. You speak good Wookiee. Thank you. Like I said, I only can do the Chewbacca thing when I yawn accurately. I don't care. I eat cold food all the time. But yeah. Yes, we go Wookiee. Okay. That's the whole thing. This has been the most productive live chat I ever had. Thanks, guys. But yeah. It would work as a regular bow, but then you just split it in half and boom, you have two lightsabers like a Ahsoka Tano. And then if you needed to, just reattach, pull the string down, shoot arrows. It could even, like Ezra's lightsaber from Star Wars Rebels. It's basically just if a Glock and a lightsaber had a baby. Okay, it's gun mode and then lightsaber mode. Where'd my drink go? No, there it is. But yeah. Oops. George Lucas had the right idea when he created the lightsaber. Star Wars weaponry is always a good decision or discussion. Thanks. George Lucas had the right idea when he created the concept of the lightsaber. But I will say this, like a lot of other sci-fi fantasy creators, he didn't really think long-term what a true sword, like in true swordsman's terms, because when he created the lightsaber, he based a lot of the fighting methods off of kendo and flourishes, which is where you swing your sword around. He didn't really take into consideration techniques like half swording, or there are even techniques in Japan where you use your hand as like a guide for the sword to thrust. Where you like draw this. Damn it. Knock my fan over. You like draw the sword and then use your hand as a guide to thrust. Star Wars in general is great. Well, that happened. Star Wars in general is great. Okay, no update yet. Star Wars in general, like broken record. Okay. Star Wars in general is great. Last time I'm going to say that. But when you break down the weapons in practical sense, you start to really realize that it's cool, but doesn't really work. And that goes back to the saber idea. Okay, George Lucas could have easily just said, like, this is a super alloy that can cut through anything. Okay, it's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's believable. Or like, this is not an ordinary sword, and then shing, like a green edge just pops out like Demon Slayer. The moment you realize, George Lucas created the Nietzschean blades before Demon Slayer was even a thing. Like, lightsaber ain't nothing compared to the Tensai. Yes. Respect. Tensaiga is stronger. Although lightsaber may be able to cut the Tensaiga in half when Inuyasha isn't wielding it and it's in its normal sword form. That may be the only case where a lightsaber is stronger, but as soon as Inuyasha picks it up, wha-bam! If One Punch Man was a sword, he'd be Tensaiga. Goku would be Tenseiga. He never kills anyone. Piccolo. The Red Ribbon Army. Pretty much all the generals. OG Dragon Ball. But yeah. Damn it, I lost my train of thought. Let me go. Did I say when the Tensaiga? Yeah, I've gone the whole Tensaiga agreement thing. But yeah. Like, George Lucas basically created the Nietzschean blades from Demon Slayer before Nietzschean blades were a thing. And if you don't know what a Nietzschean blade is, Samurai Bird or Blue Vendetta, which you haven't commented for a while, Nietzschean blades in Demon Slayer are basically swords that change color depending on who they are, depending on who holds them. They basically change towards your personality. Like, if you're a very flamboyant personality, you're going to get a red one. Very calm personality, you might get a blue or a gray one. You're very energetic, you might get a yellow one. Or if you're like me and slaughter everything in sight, you might get a solid black one. Or if you're MC Tanjiro and you have plot armor. Personally, I wouldn't mind a black and red Nietzschean blade. But that's me. I'd be the only Jedi, aside from Anakin, to wear black. Well, I'd wear black and red. I'd basically be a mix of Mace Windu and Qui-Gon Jinn. I haven't watched Demon Slayer yet. You should. It's a definite binge watch. Get the family together. Definite binge watch. I will say the voices match the characters better in the Japanese because I watched the Japanese first, then I kind of watched the Demon Slayer one in the English dub. Wasn't a big fan of the English dub, but it's easier to keep up with the English dub than the Japanese because you're watching subtitles and the anime at the same time. But yeah. That's the thing with Demon Slayer. And I'm always rep my boy Inosuke. Crazy ass boar-headed motherfucker with 2 swords. When this all is done, watch the clip of Inosuke gets new swords in Demon Slayer. It's cringeworthy, but awesome. I think it's on Hulu. Yeah, I think it is on Hulu because there was a time where I kind of got a Hulu account, but I really only wanted to watch Prey, the new Predator movie, and I really don't use Hulu since. You can also watch it on, I think you can buy episodes from YouTube. I think it's also on Amazon and maybe Netflix as well. But yeah, I do think it's on Hulu. The Mugen Train movie is great, by the way. They just released the second season, which was the entertainment arc district. No spoilers ahead for any of y'all. I ain't that kind of dude. You want spoilers? I'll give you spoilers. Just write in the comments. I mean, come on. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. Sun breathing. Oh, who said that? I hope y'all are getting as much entertainment out of this as I am. Because these live streams are fun. I try to keep everyone smiling. Why are you so serious? Fucking Ledger. But yeah. Demon Slayer is a must. It's almost as good as OG Inuyasha. Almost. I went on a whole Demon Slayer thing for a little bit where I read the entire manga. I watched episode 1, got so involved, I read the 200 plus chapter manga in a weekend. Or more like 2 weeks. I read a 200 chapter manga in 2 weeks. I took binge reading to the next level. Yeah. How about the movie Crazy Samurai 400? I bought that movie, but every time I fell asleep through it. And it's not because I didn't like it. It was because when I was watching it, when I watched it the first time, I had just gone off shift at McDonald's all night. And when I watched it the second time, I had just finished doing a lot of yard work outside and kind of drifted off to sleep. So I don't know where it ends, but I do agree that it tells the story of when Miyamoto Musashi destroyed an entire opposing sword clan in one night. Or was it 400 Crazy Samurai? I think it was just Samurai. I think the movie is called Samurai versus 400. Or 400 Samurai, one of the two. I don't think he has crazy in the title. There's nothing better for live streams than tea. Fight me on that. I dare you. Not important. It's so many interruptions in live stream on my phone. But yeah. Yep, Samurai versus 400. Here's the thing. The way Musashi does it in the movie makes sense. Because he doesn't just like stereotypical anime badass hair blowing in the wind. You killed my father, brother, son thing. And my master, prepare to die. No, it's more like, because in actual history, I think Musashi killed an important member of that clan in a fight, and then the clan wanted vengeance. So they sent all 400 of their clansmen after him. And Musashi, I don't remember if he fought them in an abandoned village or if Musashi fought them in like a forest or an abandoned village in a forest, but he fought them in an area. But in the movie itself, Musashi does it right. Okay? Swords do not stay sharp forever, especially when you are cutting through clothing, flesh, and bone. A sword blade will chip, have its edge roll, and dull very quickly. So having multiple swords stashed around the area, right, it wasn't over dramatic, it was violent battle, love it. But yeah, and Musashi had hundreds of, I think maybe, I want to say he at least had 100 or so swords stashed around the area. Or maybe not that many, maybe 50. If we're going to be modest, 50 swords stashed around the area that he was switching in between every few opponents. He'd kill a few opponents, switch swords. Or I think he even picked up a few of the swords from his opponents at one point, mainly because they didn't get to cut anything and the swords were still sharp. But as Musashi kept going and going and going through the village, he eventually got to kill the young child lord or whatever the fuck the kid was doing there. I don't remember what the kid's role was. I think he was the young lord or something. Which, personally, if I was Musashi, I kind of let the kid go just simply because there would be no challenge in fighting a kid. But then I could also see, like, okay, this kid's going to grow up to be a major fucking pain in my ass one day if I just let him live and he rebuilt his clan and I have to go through this shit all over again when I'm older and can't. So, yeah, just kill him now and be done with it. Okay, no update. I guess you're the only one that's left watching, Samurai Bird. Thank you for sticking with my ridiculously long rantings this long. I do hope you've had fun listening to me. Let's see, it's 7:56. I think I went on at like 5 o'clock something. No update from the thing yet. But yeah. So Musashi, he was tactical. He was also, it also showed him getting exhausted. Like fighting 400 people on your own, running through the city, it's going to be exhausting. Yeah, man, been fun. Thanks, bro. It's going to be exhausting, and you're going to be exhausted. It was good to see that he was taking breaks. He was drinking water. He was keeping his strength up throughout the fight. It was very realistic in its portrayal. Modern day guy, if they're going to fight that many opponents, they're going to have guns everywhere. Like fully automatics, like AK-47s, M16s, big ass, like maybe even a fucking minigun or saw or whatever. Like lots of heavy like a lot of heavy guns around that shoot a lot of ammo downrange very quickly. Back in his day, that would have been the equivalent of like having little mortar, hand grenades, and bows. But swords did their purpose, and he eventually walked away victorious after slaying all of them. I was happy that they didn't just go with the classic like anime route where it was like, you killed my brother, father, master. You killed my brother, father, master. Prepare to die. Kind of just fought all 400 at once, riddled with sword wounds and arrows. I'm glad they went with an actual realistic shit. And that's why foreign movies are better than American movies in a sense, because the foreign movies don't have to deal with this bullshit woke crap, this bullshit completely screwing up all the characters' backgrounds and OG plot just simply because you want to make them more inclusive. Oh, yes. Let's take freaking Captain America and make him gay for the new Marvel movie. That will make everyone like him more and make him more inclusive. No, that just ruins his character because you basically threw out the entirety of the lore. You might as well just make him Captain Nazi at this point and have him say Hein mein Führer every 5 seconds. But yeah, that's a bit of a different rant. That's why I like movies with Black Adam. All the critics hate it, but all the fans love it. The reason because all the critics hate it is because there's no woke shit that makes everyone think that this is going to be good. But then when people watch it and they see it, they're like, this is good. This is comic accurate. This is what we came for. That's what foreign movies do. They make movies without all this woke bullshit. If there's a gay character or there's a lesbian character or something in there, those laser saw blade swords like in the Stormtroopers we had, nice. But I don't think I've seen the laser saw blade swords. But yeah, there's like gay, lesbian characters, whatever in a movie, and you just stuck them in there for woke bullshit reasons. Yeah, you wonder why no one likes it. Like, we're cool. I'm just about done with my rant. I have one last line. But if that character is essential to the role, like being a lesbian is a part of that character and it's essential to the role, I don't give a damn. If it's part of the movie and it's part of the character and it's part of the role, I'll watch it. And I might even like the character for the personality and who the character is. We go to movies for the story and the plot, not for who's in them. And on to the laser saw blades. I'll have to look that up real quick. New members only. Oh, Matthew Jensen just uploaded a video. Something golden. Why the hell did I go to YouTube? All right. Stormtroopers laser saw blade.
Showing pictures that match.
Oh, you talking like that? Because I think that's more like a laser axe than a laser saw. But it is cool nonetheless. And I guess you could use it as like a bow saw, like a laser bow saw. Yeah, I agree. That is cool. But let's see here. I've been on for 2.5 hours. And for some reason, my battery's it came unplugged. Well, thank you, Samurai Bird, for sticking with me this long. You have officially reached #1 on the list of noble bands of outlaws, who I will be doing shoutouts for now on. Or at least attempting to remember to do shoutouts for. But I think it's time to end the stream. Because food's ready, and we're all tired. So until next time, my noble band of outlaws, Outlaw Samurai tells all y'all, be crazy rednecks, be safe and use your weapons. I'm out, peace, and thank you, Samurai Bird, for watching my live stream. Any last words before we cut off? I'll give you a minute to type. Because you said you were a slow typist like me. You take care too, brother. See ya.